Hey, sport fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join me today. It's Monday. Oh, Mondays are always fun. It's exciting. We've got a great week ahead of us. I hope you have a great week as well. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and just listen and pay attention, please. Unless you're too poor, and because paying attention can be expensive at times. So, you budget it in. If you need to get on a payment plan, we can work stuff out with you, but please pay attention. Okay, big stuff going on this weekend, March Madness. And of course, the madness in March marches on, and it was crazy. I'm happy to inform you, like you care, but anyways, I don't know where your brackets are, but my bracket actually made a significant improvement after day one. I was ranked 16th millionth on the brackets that, of course, I was with, and now I'm at 7 million. So I was at 37%. Now I'm at 74%, and I made a vast improvement. And again, pretty much every team that I needed to win is winning. And I think that's one of the most frustrating things about March Madness is that when your bracket's busted. And so you have to do what they do in NASCAR, and you're a NASCAR fan, and that is you have to pick multiple brackets. That way, if one dies, you still have another one. And so you pick multiple drivers in case someone crashes, they're out of the race. You still have someone to cheer for while you're watching the last 200 laps. So again, March Madness goes on for a significant amount of time, which is awesome. We're right in the thick of it, and it hasn't disappointed. Like even remotely, if you're a fan, regardless of what your bracket picks are, it has just been riveting. It's been unbelievable, and it's as advertised, and it's always as advertised. Now, I think one of the big stories so far is Texas. Texas is a team that was the last four in, and it's like, oh, Texas, they have this dramatic shot just to get into the tournament against North Carolina State, and then they've just kind of slowly eked their way up. They beat a real, BYU kind of undermanned. Not surprised by that win. Gonzaga, big surprise there. I didn't even have them winning that against even getting there, and they have a nice win against Gonzaga, and of course they play Purdue in the Sweet 16. But they're certainly a team that is just kind of caught fire at the right time, and they're playing really, really good basketball right now. Does that bubble burst a Cinderella loser slipper? I don't know. I do not know, but we shall see. Okay, I kind of wanted to talk about maybe, I don't know if it's like awards at this point, because it's not, but it's maybe some moments that are kind of a synopsis of what's going on. So I wanted to pick some of what was the most shocking upset, I think of the whole tournament. And I think, I think you could argue that High Point was a huge upset earlier on. I think you could say that, maybe Utah State over Villanova, maybe. Certainly, but there's certainly some other ones. I'm trying to think here. I'm actually trying to look through it, but I think the one big upset for me was Iowa beating Florida, and that really kind of threw me off. I mean, Iowa's a 9 seed, Florida's a 1 seed. They have just a killer like last second win, and I think that was a big shocker to me. Just that the closeness of that game, and that Iowa won it. It's you never know, and basketball in this setting is a little bit challenging. It's challenging because it's one and done, and you can maybe be the better team and just have maybe just a little bit of an off night somewhere somehow, and the excitement, the adrenaline of another team, and they know it's like Yeah, we couldn't stand toe to toe for these guys in a series, but we certainly, you know, on any given night, could win a game. And so that game to me was, I think, the one game that was probably the biggest upset because in my East bracket, everything, I picked Duke and St. John's, picked them, Michigan State, UConn, picked it, and then in the West, I had Arizona, and I actually had Miami, but anyways, who. Well, I'm sorry, I had Miami and Gonzaga. I messed that one up, and then Michigan, Alabama. I actually had Florida, Nebraska, believe it or not, and Illinois, Houston, and then I had Tennessee and Iowa State. So I picked most of them right, but they were just that Iowa game certainly got me a little bit. But a lot of brackets have been busted. That's for sure. So you love those upsets. I love the fact that they've expanded the tournament, and this whole idea of Texas getting in has been a good thing. I think it's been a really good thing. So I really like that that's happened. Now, the one thing, like, here's my most heartbreaking loss to this point, and it's really, I think, I don't want to say, maybe a little bit improbable. Vanderbilt and Nebraska, Nebraska. Of course, Nebraska hasn't ever won a game, and now they're in the Sweet 16. Kind of feel like it's a team you're cheering for a little bit. Do we feel like maybe the Big Ten is the conference that's really showing up in the Sweet 16? Got a lot of teams still there. Iowa, one of them. Of course, Michigan State, Michigan, Nebraska. So there's a lot of good teams. Probably missing some here, anyways, but it doesn't matter. But the Nebraska Vanderbilt, that was just a heartbreaking loss. And you might say the Florida Iowa. There's a lot of games you could say, but it was the shot, right? So Nebraska goes up, they go ahead. Vanderbilt gets the ball and they shoot it, and it's one of those out of the movie. Hits the backboard, hits the rim, hits the backboard, the rim, and then kind of bounces out. And it's just agonizing because it's like, whew, that was so close. And then you're the other team, you're in Nebraska, and you're just like, oh my goodness, like I can't imagine the emotional roller coaster in all of about 2 seconds. Here you go from we scored, we're going to win the game, to we almost just lost the game. And in some regards, it's kind of hard to actually, should we be excited right now? It's like your body going to shock, right? And so it's just so, from moment to moment, just riveting. It really is. It's just so good. It's so amazing. But the thing that really jumped out at me about that shot is how close it was to going in, and how painfully minute the difference between winning and losing. Because so many of these games, you have a few blowouts, but these games go back and forth. And teams are down by a lot and they come back, or they're, or they're just, it's just a battle. St. John's is in a big battle in their game, and it's just a battle. and of course Kansas is one of the, and here you have Coach Self, who's like, I have to evaluate how I handle this, because I don't know if I can take it anymore. And it's there's an emotional toll that this all takes on you, only because I think part of it is just how close it is between winning and losing, and how if that basketball hits a fraction of an inch, just a little bit lower on the rim when it comes through the basket, it just a little bit lower, it just kicks down and goes in. It's so minute, how how that difference between winning and losing is, and it really is just, of course, kind of a gut wrenching type of experience, which is why we love it, right? And there's going to be more, and it's just, man, you throw all of this stuff together, and you just say, this is freaking exciting, and it makes you wonder if, like, stodgy football and their whole deal is like, why can't you just, maybe expand it, because it's just so much more compelling, so much more meaningful when you just you put it on the line, and you go out there and you prove if you're going to win or lose it, and let's see how you handle the competitiveness of the pressure of it. That's what we like to see. We love it. Now, so I had my most shocking upset, Iowa, Florida. Heartbreaking loss goes to Vanderbilt. Heart-pounding win. Like, whoo, pulling it out. I mean, you could argue for so many of these games, but St. John's and the drive to the basket and the score, basically with no time left on the clock. I mean, that is just epic. I think it's one of those things, like, as a kid, you grow up and you're practicing in your backyard, you're shooting hoops by yourself, and you do that. I remember growing up, I want to say, well, in 1980, 82, it might have been 82, Danny Ainge playing at BYU, and they're playing Notre Dame, and Ainge gets the ball, pretty much drives full court, lays it up, and the Cougs win. And as a kid, being a BYU fan and watching that, oh my goodness, like it's just, there's just nothing about, or nothing more spectacular than you see the catch and shoot and buzzer beater plays, and there's been so many of them through the years, and we just seem to love it. I don't know what it is, but we just absolutely seem to love it. So we got another round coming up this weekend, and it just doesn't get any more exciting than what's happening here this weekend. Of course, it's a Sweet 16, and two more wins closer. All you got to win is 2 games to get to the semifinals, and you can do it. So we'll see who answers. We'll see who doesn't. My brackets are still alive. I'm a happy camper. We're going to take a break. I got so much to talk about today. So much to talk about. Some crazy stuff going on in the NFL. Of course, the NFL takes on flag football. Whew. Maybe slightly humbling. And I have a really interesting discussion about flag football and the relevance of it. And I think it's coming front and center. Of course, it's going to be an Olympic event moving forward. Kyle Whittingham, it wasn't so nice when he left Utah. I want to talk a little bit about that. We'll get around to that. And a couple of fun things with free agency. Do free agents actually pan out? And then I have this final question today. Are professional athletes actually real people? So all of this is coming up in the show. You do not want to miss it. Stick around. The Down and Dirty will be back in a moment.
The Pete Souza Show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. You want to talk NFL draft? I don't know. How about we get you Todd McShay? You want to talk Big 12? We can get you the commissioner. Somebody about the Cowboys? How about we have on the owner, Stephen Jones? Pop culture? Michelle Beadle. I mean, we will bring on the people that you want to hear from. And these people don't join us because of me. They join us because of you. You got to watch this show, okay? It's got everything you need. Sports, hijinks, laughs. Did I mention hijinks? We'll see you on the Pete Souza Show. Now, we are under the 365 Sports umbrella. Check it out. I'm wearing a Tulane shirt. No idea why.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports, Pete.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. So glad you could join our show. Thank you for being a part of us every day. We love you and we value you. And gosh darn it, you deserve it. So thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. The NFL News of Notes is happening now. Of course, the NFL News of Notes is something we do every day because the NFL is never sleeping. It's open 365, 24/7, and you don't want to miss a moment. And there's always a moment. There's always more than a moment. Of course, we're kind of in the thick of a lot of thin things right now in the NFL, mostly free agency, some significant signings, some significant offseason flurry into flag football. We'll talk about that. But right now, JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, of course, the very prolific and talented wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, has reached an agreement on an extension of his rookie deal. And it's quite an extension. And it makes him the top paid receiver in the NFL. $42.15 million per year is the average of this contract. $42.15 million is what JSN is receiving. And, does he deserve it? Like, yes. But is there a thing called timing? Yeah, absolutely. And this has nothing to do with, the value. I mean, the who's worth it and who isn't is so subjective. It really is. But it's like, when you get it, usually you have a significant position of leverage or timing. And of course, Jackson Smith-Njigba it's more than winning the Super Bowl. It's certainly being a very consistent performer from the moment he got to Seattle, but being a significant performer on a limited team. And I think that's significant. And it's significant in the sense that when they know you're the guy, when it's like he's kind of like the Seahawks weren't the most productive passing team or the most efficient. They kind of ranked lower in the NFL, but he was phenomenal, and it was like he was kind of everything. And maybe it's Sam Darnold is really smart, or maybe he's really dumb. And he's smart in the sense that throw it to that guy because he'll catch it, and he'll catch it a lot. That's smart, okay? But the dumb side of it might be, well, that's all he knows. Maybe he's not comfortable with the other guy. Now, I know that's not true. This isn't a knock on Sam Darnold at all. But there is a process, even if you're a veteran player like Sam Darnold, and you go to a new team, and you're trying to get comfortable with the system and trying to get comfortable with new players. And when you find a flavor of ice cream that you like, you just order it all the time because it won't disappoint. And I think there's some of that goes on. And the more you get tied into JSN, your Sam Darnold, the more comfortable, the more confident you read and see and feel the nuances of how he's running routes. Your anticipation just goes through the roof. So it's a lot of things that go into that. It's a high pick guy who overperforms on a team that wins the Super Bowl. And he's one of the most significant parts of a team winning a Super Bowl. So and again, I'm not minimized because I watched JSN play in college, and I watched him in the Rose Bowl against Utah, and I was calling that game, and I'm like, the dude is uncoverable. Like they could have had 12 guys on the floor, whatever, on the field. That's how flustering it was. Utah didn't know if it was playing hockey, if it was playing basketball, if it was playing soccer. They didn't know, but I just know they couldn't cover the guy. It was phenomenal. He's lights out. Now he had a lot of other really good guys around him, but regardless, he was really freaking good, and he's been really freaking good in the NFL. So I love this move for them. It's $120 million guaranteed. And I just there's a side of me that just has a hard time talking about this amount of money because it's so ridiculous. Like if a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks is making $42 million a year, what in the heck is the NFL making? Like these owners are making, I mean, it's staggering. 370 some million dollars for a salary cap to pay on players is just a staggering number. You know, it's more than the value of some of these franchises not that long ago. And every time this comes up, I just cannot get over how much the players make. Now, I think part of it, you always say, where's our threshold? Like, where does the law of diminishing return happen? When does this thing crash? When does this thing, because I think if people would have said, yeah, players will be making wide receivers will be making $42 million, backup quarterbacks will be making $8 million. I mean, it's just insane. And where's the end? Is there an end in sight? Is there, do we just continue to grow and go? Was it artificially, like downplayed by these owners? Were they making a grundle of more money than they, back in the day than they really wanted to admit, and now all of a sudden the cat's out of the bag and it was quite a cat. So I just can't get over it. And here's how my mind wraps around all of this is, to me, I always just go to the guaranteed money because they'll cut Russell Wilson, they'll cut Tua, they'll cut Geno, so they'll cut any of them. Kyler Murray, sign them to these big deals, and after a couple of years, you're out. And most of the time, it's when the team stinks. New sheriff comes in town, new GM, new coach, and they go, I didn't pick this guy. I don't want to be responsible for this guy. He's out. He's gone. Fine. We'll eat $99 million. Oh, well. But every time it comes up for me, I just go to the guaranteed money. And the guaranteed money for Jackson Smith-Njigba, it's kind of fun to say his name. I don't know. Just Jackson Smith-Njigba. It's just a fun name. It's a lot of name. Anyways, so $120 million. 50% of that goes to agents, fees, this, that, whatever, taxes. So it's $60 million. So you're gonna get $60 million in your bank account. It's yours. Nobody's taking it, nobody's touching it, nothing. And you just start doing simple math, because that's all the math I know how to do. And you just all of a sudden go, you can live unbelievably comfortable for the rest of your life on $60 million. Now, a lot of guys will blow it all. And it happens. It's a weird phenomenon that happens in professional sports, but it's also ridiculous money. Just ridiculous money. Like, I think NFL parking lots, that would be a fun thing just to go walk through and see all the different vehicles that show up. It's like, okay, we're gonna we're gonna I don't know. Let's do a tour of the cars in the parking lot of oh yeah, I'm driving to work today in my Lambo. It's almost like, okay, everyone cannot have a car that's under $250,000. Like, you're not allowed in the parking lot if you have that. Now the poor rookies, they're only making $1 million a year, so we can't let them do that. Anyways, good for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Does it break the bank for Seattle? I don't know. It's always a nervous proposition. It's always a nervous proposition when you win a Super Bowl. Super Bowl MVP is no longer there, and then some guy gets paid. And then when some guy gets paid, which is part of the whole, the someone has to leave thing. And I think that, the folks in Seattle just said, look, we've had a multi running back situation. We know how to find that type of running back, so that but Jackson Smith-Njigba just doesn't fall off every tree, and I think it'd be easier to replace the running back than it would the wide receiver production, and it's just a tough choice you make, and probably the better one for Seattle. Okay, Joe Burrow, and of course a bunch of other NFL players this weekend went and played in flag football, and Joe Burrow said, man, I want to play in the Olympics. And I think it's like when this came out and I talked to different people, some were like, heck no, man, I'm not going to play in the Olympics. And then other people were like, yeah, I would be, I'd be honored to do that. I'd love to be able to do that. My life hasn't, I don't play Olympic sports, so there's never a chance for me to go contend in the Olympics. And here's an opportunity now to do it. And it was interesting because the flag football guys who are actually, I guess they're professional flag footballers. I don't know exactly how flag footballers they are, but they kind of put it to the NFL players. Now the NFL players are like, we just had a few practices and all this stuff and what have you. But it's an interesting thing, and a I don't know if it's a dilemma or if it's because flag football is different. It's not football, and the way they play it is you're not physical. But NFL guys are, because they're used to it. Like the NFL outside of being a quarterback is Mortal Kombat. Wide receivers are constantly jockeying with defensive backs, offense, defensive linemen, linebackers, running backs, tight ends. Everyone is hand fighting at the line of scrimmage, trying to delay, trying to get a release, trying to keep someone in front of you. And that's not flag football. Flag football is blocking, regular football is blocking and tackling. Flag football is juke and jive and missing. And it's a totally just trying to capture someone's flag is an art. It's not easy to just reach and grab and find the flag, and especially with you got these guys that can move and the plays and it's a different thing. So you have Joe Burrow. He goes, yeah, I want to be in the Olympics, and he's got this name, and there's all these stars in the NFL. And so how much time do you need to practice and get up to the speed of flag football? And does your skill as an NFL player actually translate? And I'm not sure that it does. And so because I think of the dream team in basketball, 92 Barcelona Summer Olympics, and it was epic. Like everybody who was there, all the Olympians, all the spectators, it was about that basketball team. It was about Michael and Magic and Larry and Charles Barkley and all. You go on, Malone, Stock. I mean, there's just a list of, the Admiral. I mean, it is the dream team. It was the dream team, and I think it was good for the Olympics. I think it brought a massive general broad appeal to the Olympics. And I think having these superstar NFL players play flag football has potentially that type of of interest and intrigue. The challenge is I don't know that they can do it. I mean, you're going to have to be released and have time to train and prepare and practice and work at this. You just don't show up and go, well, we're the best football players in the world. And it's like, but you're not the best flag football players in the world. And it's a very different thing. So I really appreciate that Joe Burrow is like, man, I want to do this. And he showed signs. I mean, they showed, but it's a different game. Remains to be seen. And it's a dilemma. What the United States Olympic Committee decides about picking that team, who belongs, and because these other guys who have been doing flag football, who are phenomenal at it, who put a whooping on these NFL guys, they might be left in the dark. And it's, in some regards, it's probably not right. But I think you'd rather see the NFL guys. I would. Cam Skattebo. He is a tough little running back. He's just a little rolling bowling ball. And of course, he made a comment about asthma and CTE and how, look, they're not that big a deal. And he had to walk this back. A lot of people thought it was extremely insensitive, not a very bright comment. Now he's claimed that it was in jest and that he was just being a little sarcastic, which I get because I'm a little bit sarcastic myself. I've been known to say things and it's hard, to translate tone. It's hard when people don't get it. They don't get the joke. I made a funny comment about a coach once and wasn't supposed to be for public consumption, but it did get out publicly. And this was before social media. And it's a lot of people remember that. So, nah. Anyways, it's unfortunate, but in my mind, it makes me think about CTE. And basically the NFL said 95% of the players who were tested after they died had CTE. Now, I don't know what that means in the sense that like everyone is going to get it, or most people are. It's a concern. It's a real concern. But I'm not defending Cam Skattebo, and I'm not disparaging him either. But I would just I don't know that we know enough. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying there have been people who have gotten really old. And there's some people who are younger, and there's people that have kind of, I don't know. It's a mixed bag of how people die, when they die, what happens to them when they die, if they have it, what at what level do they have it? Is it one of those things that is preventable? Is it, the NFL is making huge strides in trying to minimize this. So how teams practice, the gear that they wear, all of these things are certainly playing into it. I think the medications that you take amplify things. So if you're into drugs and alcohol, other types of things are certainly something that could accelerate the impact, the effect of it. It's a fascinating challenge, and it's fascinating because it could be really deadly at some point. And the problem is you don't know until you're dead. So it's not, I think it makes it even harder to study. But it's one of those things where, and it's anyone, it's not just, you can be in the military, you can be anything where you're having some kind of head trauma caused by physical exertion. That there's the potential of it, but the football is just so much all the time that it's hard, and it's unfortunate that here you have this sport that's so wonderful, so exciting, so popular, $42 million a year popular for wide receivers, and yet it's it's deadly in some regards, and you see more and more players retiring, you see things changing. I don't know the impact of it. I really don't. And as long as it's popular and as long as people are watching, there's certainly a lot of people participating. So I don't see it leaving anytime soon, but down the road, who knows? We may know a ton more than we know today. All right, when we come back, speaking of flag football, this is an effort by the NFL. Flag football is taking over the world. So I want to talk about what that means, not just the Olympics, but what it means in our everyday life when the Down and Dirty returns.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays, it's the Matt Mosley Show.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Hey, it's Zach Gelb. We're talking NFL and college football. Plus, we have some of the biggest interviews in sports media. You got to check out the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports, weekdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central. And make sure you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@ZachGelbShow.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell. So glad you could be a part of our show today, and always fun stuff chatting about free agency, about CTE, about dumb things we say from time to time, and of course, March Madness. All fun stuff, all fun conversations. There's an interesting dynamic happening in the NFL, and it's feeder programs, right? So the NFL is pushing extremely hard for the advent of flag football. And so they're promoting leagues, they're promoting all of these things, they're promoting flag football as an Olympic sport, trying to get NFL players to play in flag football. I think also shows that these young kids, hey, they're going to the Olympics in flag football type of thing. Now, this is all good and well. And this is all something that's like, okay, fine. You're trying to promote this. Now, I think the biggest reason the NFL is behind this is with the concussions. I think it's like, if we can avoid young people from initiating contact at a younger age, and the later we can delay that, probably maybe into high school, I think the better off we're going to be. Maybe it minimizes the number of injuries that happen, the severity of what happens. Who knows? I don't know of many people. So I'm just thinking on my experience, both as a coach, as a player, and when I was younger, many people going, well, they don't play because they have some kind of brain issues. Like no one stops playing football at that age, or very few people. Maybe they do now more, but it's just more about ability. It's about opportunity than it is health. Now almost every parent in the country goes, is football safe? Should my children, when should they get involved in this, and blah blah blah. And I don't know that. I think it's just it's kind of a personal thing for parents to do this. So I can't say, well, 12, 13, they play flag football younger, and then once they get older, type of thing. I don't know. I don't know that we know what's going on with people completely. So I think it's just more this trying to minimize things. I really do. Now, they know what happens with players after they're done, and a lot of them have some kind of issue. But it's not like every player is dying when they're 60 or 62 or 65, or life expectancy of professional athletes is, I don't know. I'm speculating, I'm guessing, but I'm just thinking of the players, that, there's a lot of them still around. And when someone passes away, it's national news. But regardless, the NFL is making this push for flag football. And I think a lot of it is because of the concussion issue, which doesn't have conclusive, like, absolutes to it while you're living, and longevity. But there's certainly a serious concern. Maybe they don't want lawsuits, but they also, and the challenge is because youth sports is the feeder to the NFL. And there's a lot of other sports that take and grab people's attention. Tons. And more sports are, gaining popularity. They're gaining interest and significance and all of these things. So it's really one of those things where, people are, you're fighting with a lot of people. It's a crowded pool for sports. And the concern for parents is, safety. But the other thing, I think it's trying to broaden the appeal of football. There are a lot of kids that go, I don't want to play because I'm scared. I don't want to get hit because I'm afraid it's going to hurt. And so a lot of them don't play. And they probably could play. And so you're losing who knows how many kids, because for whatever reason, they didn't quite develop when they were younger. Their development happened later. And flag football kind of evens the playing ground because there's no physicalness in it. You just run around. And yeah, you got to throw, you got to catch, you got to do all that stuff, but no one's going to hit you when you do. And that's different. That's different for kids, because a lot of kids, it just scares the bejeebers out of them. So I think from gaining a bigger audience, maintaining an audience, keeping that audience safer through those formative years, I think is the goal and the intention of flag football with the NFL. Now, I know in the state of Utah, one of the largest youth football programs, the Ute Conference is amazing. And they have tremendous organization. They got great coaches. They've got a great structure in place. And their contention is, for young men, this is kind of about the last thing in the world that a boy can do to be a boy, to be physical and to, which guys want to be more, they're more physical. They want to feel like manly, like a man. And and so many of those opportunities are being taken. And there's a massive push to eliminate all of these youth tackle football leagues across the country, and the NFL is behind all of it. But I think they bring up a good point about what it does, what it teaches these young kids about being a part of a team, about being disciplined, about working hard at something, about developing a skill, about being outside and not by a computer or gaming. There's a lot to it. Understanding how to handle victory and defeat, and how to do something that's hard. Tom Brady, I think, does an excellent job of explaining why he played football, because it was hard. It wasn't easy. He goes, man, I'm on my bike with my pads and going to football practice, which isn't always fun to go to. And all my buddies are going to the beach and they're going surfing. They're doing all these things. And I had to make a choice and a commitment to something. And I got so much more out of it because I had to do something that was hard. And I think that's a good thing to teach our children today, is about working at something, about delayed gratification, about, every day isn't just, rainbows and butterflies and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of value in what football does for people. Now, here's my other concern. And it kind of jumped out at this weekend over these players playing in this Fanatics flag football classic. And here you have the actual guys that are playing. And so this Team USA basically they were made up of NFL players and celebrities, and they kind of got trounced by, the Team USA team trounced the NFL players 106-44. They went 3-0 in their round robin deal and just blew them out of the water. Now, the NFL players only had a couple of days to practice. They only had a little bit of prep time, but they struggled with the rules. The NFL guys did. And they struggled with the rules because they were too physical. They were, and that was basically most of, it was in blocking and just a lot of things that you just normally do playing football. So here you have these NFL guys who are playing football, and it's just with flags, and they don't know any different. And so my concern is, okay, great. You've taken football out of youth, and you've created this whole new sport, flag football. And a lot of people are like, is that what the NFL is going to? And I think they'd like it to be that way. But that's not what makes football great. Certainly blocking and tackling is what was all a part of the NFL. Always. It's always been a part of the NFL. And so now you're taking this whole generation of young people, and you're teaching them flag football, and they're playing flag football. And how does that translate to football? I mean, there's aspects of it, fine. But the essence of football always is in the trenches. Like winning an NFL game and losing it happens in the trenches. Whoever controls the line of scrimmage, unless you have turnovers, is the team that wins the game. And that's totally been eliminated from everything that happens. So this whole trend, this whole idea of flag football moving forward is It sounds amazing. Like Joe Burrow said, man, I would be excited to go play in the Olympics doing this sport. But if it, I would be concerned if flag football took over what's going on in the NFL. And the NFL has changed, and the rules have changed, and they've adapted. And so you just wonder, is it as popular? Is it as, interesting if you take the physical nature out of the game? You take the pads off. And will it still be the same way? I don't know. But you can't see today what some of these choices, and this isn't like, hey, we're going to change uniform colors. We're going to change the concessions, that we have. We're going to change the foundational way of how we develop young talent in this country to play professional football. And that's a big move. And the ramifications of it, I don't know that you'll see for some time. I mean, it's, I think of like the Chinese government. They said a long time ago, 2 kids. That's it. We got to control our population. So, it might even be 1. But today, because so many people don't have children, the population of China is on a significant decline. And that concerns me about, because that was a choice that was made a long time ago in China. And now you're starting to see the repercussions of that choice. It's a big choice. It's a significant choice, and the impact can't be felt until years and years down the road. And it concerns me that this whole move to flag football is one of those choices that, we don't see today, but it will have significant ramifications down the road. And I don't know. And I don't know about CTE, because I think it's another one of those things that we really don't know everything about. We know that people have had it. We know that a lot of people that played in the NFL have had it when they die, but you don't know. I mean, it would be wonderful if you could find out how to find out about it before people died, which is, that's where I'd spend most of my money and most of my time if I'm the NFL. And I don't know if they do or they don't, but they should. So we'll see. All right, we're going to take another break. We come back. This got weird over the weekend and kind of late Friday. Kyle Whittingham's departure from Utah maybe wasn't as pleasant or as peaceful or as smooth as it was portrayed to be. I want to talk about this in some form, because I have an interest in it. So we'll talk about that and more when the Down and Dirty returns in just a few minutes.
Hi, my name is Mike Lacey. I'm with Beyond the Game, a new podcast to the Rogue Media Network. Just when you thought you'd had a little bit too much about BYU, here we are to provide you even a little bit more. I, as part of the BYU group, am grateful that we're part of the Big 12 and really grateful that we're part of the Rogue Media Network. Thank you.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Are you looking for top-shelf sports talk about the West Virginia Mountaineers, where you can get objective analysis, but with the passion of a fan? Well, look no further than right here at Couz's Corner. I am Justin Couz Walker, the host of Couz's Corner, and you can find my show on demand over at YouTube. Most shows are uploaded by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also check out my live post-game reaction shows. My special guest interviews, you can find it all on YouTube at Kuz's Corner. Go check it out.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty here. I got an interesting topic that I want to talk about right now. And it's one that's it's a little bit challenging. Actually, it's a lot challenging. It's about the departure of Kyle Whittingham from the University of Utah. Some information has come out about the negotiations and kind of where everything was before he stepped down as coach, and kind of some back and forth about negotiating another year or two at the University of Utah, and it didn't pan out the way that I think Kyle Whittingham wanted to have happen. There were certain things that were played anyway. So it's something I want to talk about, but I'm a little bit kind of perplexed, or I have a little bit of a dilemma. And the dilemma is this Down and Dirty is, I want to give it to you down and dirty, like real. And that's in this situation a little bit challenging. And so people go, well, why talk about it? Why even bring it up? Why even mention it? And I feel like it's a significant story, and it has relevance in the world of sports, and it's something that probably needs to be discussed. And I'm sidestepping the challenge here. I'm thinking out loud, and I should just shut my mouth and just get right into the comments. So it came out, Kyle Whittingham was stepping down, but he didn't want to step down. And that he notified the university that he wanted to continue to coach. His agent made a recommendation for what his salary should be. It was in the neighborhood of $9.4 million, somewhere around there. And I think he wanted to coach for 2 more years. And the school said, no, we're going to counter your offer, and we're going to pay you $8 million. And we're going to have Morgan Scalley take over all of the significant decisions related to personnel. And it was now time for Morgan Scalley to take that over. And so basically you're going to be here as a coach, almost in name only. And that, I think that was just a little too awkward and unfortunate. Now, when this was announced a few years ago that Morgan was the coach in waiting, that was a weird thing. And I thought it was weird at the time. And it was weird at the time simply because of what just transpired. That what happens down the road if someone says, like, the team starts losing and the players go, well, okay, Kyle's our coach today, but we know he's not going to be sometime soon. And so should we kind of pay attention to Coach Scalley over here, because he's going to be the new coach? And, it just seems like, and same thing with coaches, because coaches are, a fragile group. A lot of coaches have a loyalty to certain other coaches. And so these guys go, look, do I still want to be at Utah and have a job? Then I gotta saddle up to Morgan Scalley. And if I'm, or if I'm just, man, Kyle's my guy and whatever, I'm loyal to him no matter what happens. So that whole situation with the coach in waiting is a major problem. But it's also a great solution, because, the one thing Utah has learned is having a coach that wants to be there long term. That's not like, this is a stepping stone job for me. Urban Meyer was so great at Utah, but he was there for 2 years. And that's what people are going to look at the Utah job if they're an Urban Meyer type of coach per se. But there are coaches like Morgan Scott. They're few and far between. You know, BYU has one in Kalani Sitake, but there's not many guys that are going to go, I'm a lifer. They're going, no, I want to go on to my next job. And so it's a dilemma because, you know, Morgan Scalley is a really good pick for the future for Utah football because that stability has been one of the magical components of the success. The coaching stability has created success on the field with a culture. And I think that's kind of the bet that Mark Harlan and the folks at Utah are saying. Morgan brings that stability. He's a guy that wants to be here. He even said, I'll stay here because I guarantee you Morgan Scalley was getting a lot of people banging on his door going, hey, will you come here? Will you come there? And they're going to offer him a lot of money, a lot more money than he was making at Utah. And he goes, look, Kyle's not going to be here forever. You know, you don't want to just pick another Urban Meyer that's here today, gone tomorrow. And it's not a knock on Urban Meyer. It's just, that's just what the job would be to people outside of Utah. Utah, I wouldn't say is a destination job for everyone, but it just creates a situation. So, I think the unfortunate thing with this is somehow it got out. For some reason, it got out. These things don't just magically just drop out. Someone was trying to make a statement somewhere, somehow about kind of what happened. Now, part of Kyle's clause was that he would create a smooth transition, that he wouldn't coach in the state of Utah for 3 or 4 years, which, you know, I don't know that Kyle Whittingham wants to coach for 3 or 4 more years. But it was just the state of Utah, and they were more concerned about BYU because Utah-BYU, big rivalry. Unfortunately, this is why you need a good attorney. Because good attorneys will cover everything, right? They cover all of the bases. And in fact, I've had contracts of 45 pages long, and they covered things that I didn't even know I could think about. But they didn't cover for Kyle. They said he can't coach in Utah, and they really should have said he can't coach, period. And maybe they couldn't do that. I don't know. And I don't think anybody in their right mind said, well, the Michigan's job's going to open up, and Michigan's going to open up late. So all these other coaches that are out there that are available are not interested. Now, Michigan went after some guys, I'm sure. And the guys that they've mentioned, the Kenny Dillinghams and some of these other hot young prospects who turned it down. And a lot of it, you know, who knows why. But Kyle was just like the very best, and I think a better solution for Michigan than they thought they were ever going to get, because it was ugly at Michigan. And so everyone just thought, now, and this is fine. I don't think there's a person in the world that sits there and goes, Kyle Whittingham should not go to Michigan. I know me personally, I'm like, if you have an opportunity to go coach at Michigan, you got to go. I don't care what comes of it. I don't care any part of it. It's Michigan. And if they're asking you to be their coach, you have to seriously look at that. And you'd be a fool not to go. Now, here's the challenging. This is the sticking point. I don't think Kyle going to Michigan would be upsetting to the University of Utah. I think they'd be supportive of it. I think they'd be like, yeah, that's great. The challenge is what happened. And that is, like he took a decent amount of the staff with him. And it seems to be, you know, because the question was he committed to a smooth transition to Morgan. And so see, this is a weird dilemma, and it's a weird dilemma because when a new coach comes in, now they typically have their guys or they have their direction, and it feels like that's what Morgan really wanted to do. Like he had his people in mind, and he went out and got them. Now, so the question is was that really not being part of a smooth transition? And I don't know that from the coaching perspective, I don't know that it is, and only because coaches change all the time. Like all the time. Kyle Whittingham has had, gosh, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 offensive coordinators at Utah in the 20 years he's been there. So that it's not like even if he's there, and again, I really, and I don't know the dynamics of the coaching, makeup or, how they got along or, or if they even liked each other or whatever. But Morgan said, I have a list and I keep a list of potential people who would be good coordinators. And that's kind of what I work off. So, because I was really curious about, well, how's Kyle kind of took a lot of coaches, almost all of the offensive coaches. I think he pretty much took everyone. And so, I was concerned about, well, what's Morgan? And he seemed to be fine. Like I was very impressed with the coaches he got and he picked up and really liked. And so I just didn't see it to be a problem. Now here's where I have a problem. Like if Kyle Whittingham was just going to kind of ease his transition and just kind of fade off into the sunset, and he's getting paid money to do that, then that's, hey, I don't know how that all works. It seems weird to me that when you step down, they're still going to keep paying you money. And I understand there's buyouts and there's all kinds of clauses for certain things, and it could be deemed one of those things that it was at the university's, discretion. And because it was there, they said, look, we want you to step down. We want you to, create a smooth train, and we're going to pay you. So it's not like you just, boom, no thanks, no thank you for all that you've done. It seemed like there was this, yes, thank you very much kind of thing from the school. And this is the part I have a problem with. If Kyle Whittingham, this is the clause, if said coach gets a new coaching position, does not step off and go into the sunset, if at any point that coach decides to coach, then this money's no longer our responsibility. And the university said, this is the agreement we had. If it's me, I don't know that I like the agreement. And again, I'm not there negotiating it, so I don't know. But it just seems like if a guy gets a new coaching job, then you shouldn't be paying him $13 million. And that to me is what I guess the rub for this. That and it's like good for Kyle and good for whoever negotiated his contract and good for the University of Utah that if it is the contract, they're honoring it. And I think they felt like there was, that some of the actions from Kyle Whittingham maybe hampered that. And this is the part to me that's, oh man, it's a little disheartening, and it's the players taking the players. Okay. Like Utah's not a hotbed of the very best athletes in the country. They know the type of player that they want to pick there. They're trying to get the best possible players they can. But they know that there's a process that, and Morgan understands this. He's been in the middle of it for a long period of time. So he knows how to recruit at Utah, especially on defense. And Kyle, now he's at Michigan. Kyle can recruit anywhere. Kyle can go get players anywhere in the country. and and so when he took Smith Snowden, John Henry Daly, J.J. Buchanan, Jonah Leah, and Moa. Those are like, that's robbing the bank. That may be crossing the line. And my question is, why do you have to do that? Now there are players in the country, who go, yeah, my coach went here, and so I'm going to go there too. I mean, Iowa, their coach leaves, and half their roster ends up at Penn State. And so this is the nature kind of college football. And you also have a coach who recruited you, who you kind of bought into, and now this coach is going somewhere else. Then you kind of go, well, I want to stick with that guy. Now, if you're a player, you go, I got a shot to go play at Michigan. And I don't know that any player in the country, I don't care where you're going to school. Clearly there's some schools, certainly on par with Michigan, but to go play in the Big Ten, to go play in the Big House, to go play in a rivalry as nasty and as good and as deep and storied as Ohio State, Michigan, and just that whole experience, it'd be hard to turn down. I really think. So, what Kyle Whittingham realizes is he goes, I know how to do this. I know the people I trust, and I know they'll get done what I want done. And do you want to come and be a part of that? And I think all these coaches says, heck yeah. And I think the players said, heck yeah. And I think the ones that are there, it's really getting in kind of step with a bunch of players that you don't know, and getting them to buy into your where you are, but to kind of have your people around you to help establishing that culture, is I think is smart, because Kyle Whittingham doesn't have the luxury of spending a few years to kind of build things. He's older, not going to coach that much longer. And he realizes he doesn't have the same runway that he had when he was in transitioning from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. So he's got to move. And I think the reality of this is it was unforeseeable. And I'm sure everyone's upset about it, and rightfully so, because they're all competitive. But I don't think anyone said, Kyle Whittingham is going to step down and go coach at Michigan. I don't think that was the case. And so he's, it was just an unfortunate situation that came up. And that's really what it is. Now, how we all act and the decisions we make when that situation comes up, it's highly debatable, but it's certainly not out of the norm of what's going on in college football. I think I've been very impressed with, Morgan's kind of moved on and moved forward. And for that reason, it just feels like that's kind of, and same thing with Kyle, and we'll see where it ends up. It's too bad Utah and Michigan aren't playing anytime soon. That would be fun. Okay. We come back. Do NFL free agents actually pan out? I have, this will be a fun conversation. And then I got another one coming up later on in the show. Are professional athletes real people? Well, I'll answer that for you when we come back on the Down and Dirty.
If you want a Boston sports show that's going to insult you as a fan and only cares about getting back at their old hosts or who Bill Belichick is dating, then keep tuning your radio. But if you want a sports show that's wicked good, wicked smart, wicked passionate, then you need the Wicked Boston Show with me, Cam Stewart. It is the only Boston sports talk show that is by the fans and for the fans. One voice in this city where the only BS is Boston sports. The Wicked Boston Show.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty, Scott Mitchell here. So glad you could come back and join us and be a part of what we're doing. Always fun to share sports with you, and I hope you enjoy it. There's an article that came out in ESPN, and it was basically, do free agents pan out? And I think it's a fair question. And I think if you wanted me to answer it, well, abso-darn-lutely they do. And the reason they do is because we have free agency and guys get signed. So if it didn't work, if it was a bad idea, if everyone sucked, if everyone was terrible, then they'd have a new system in place. But they're totally fine going out there and signing players. And I think it's one of those things where the NFL goes, all right. We have there's this thing about winning the jackpot or the lottery. And there just might be this guy out there, right? And so again, I think it's the Jerry Jones theory of just create drama. Just create a new storyline, just create a new narrative. So by signing these free agents, it's part of a new narrative. Hey, we got this guy, man. We really think he's going to be something, man, look what he did here. Look, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so I think there's that side of it that you hope and pray that this might be the one thing, the one piece that gets you over the top. You're playing every year in your team and you see what your weakness is and you see what you're deficient at. And you just go, who's out there? Is there anyone out there that can plug this hole? Because if this hole gets plugged or minimized, then we're going to be an amazing team. In real simple terms, you think of the Kansas City Chiefs, and they go, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes just got wasted in the Super Bowl. Our offensive line sucks. So let's go out and get some new offensive line, and we'll get back and we'll win the Super Bowl." Well, there they go. Or they get better players on defense and they get Chris Jones. Boom, there they go. They're better. And so there's always that hope that that there's a guy out there that can kind of move the needle for us, can kind of change things for us. And there's this this thing of, well, we don't have to wait for the draft. We don't have to build this slowly. We don't have to hope, we can have an instant fix. Now, and so that's nice. Now, the flip side of that is, we have these really, really good players, and they command a high dollar. So we've got to pay them. But if we pay them, then we've got to give things up. And we hope that we can find something to replace them through free agency. So the article was talking more about the contribution of the player, and so it was like superstar. Does he, basically the life of his contract? Is he a guy that says, yeah, I'm a perennial, all pro Bowl player? That's like a 5. And they rate all of these players and all this stuff, and that's fine. But the challenge with some of that is a little bit, it's a little misleading, because it's hard in the NFL to get all of the parts fit together at the same time. And so many teams in today's world are living off of rookie contracts with really good quarterbacks, and they're trying to get as many good players around them and spend as much money as they can, because later on down the road they're going to have to put all the money in the quarterback. And so it's kind of a challenging thing for teams also, where free agency is just to plug holes left because we have a superstar. So it kind of it crosses the gamut. But the point of the article was that, the players kind of how they panned out was kind of the I guess the value they put on if they actually worked or they didn't. And I think it's a little bit deceptive, because so my experience, so I was actually one of the first free agents in the NFL. I think 1993 was the first year. Reggie White was one of very few people who signed. And then the following year, free agency became a pretty significant deal. And a lot of guys moved around. And so at that year, I was considered the top free agent in the NFL. And I had there's a lot of teams vying for my services. And so I go to Detroit, and here's the challenging part. And the challenging part is with the free agents, and I think quarterbacks to some degree, there's this massive expectation. And I can tell you, because you look at Tom Brady is a free agent, and he goes to Tampa Bay and wins a Super Bowl. And that was, I think people would say that was a good free agent pickup. And then there's and what was nice about that is the system that was put in place was something that he was very familiar with and could execute on. And so it was challenging for me initially, where the system that I inherited was kind of challenging. I went from the Miami Dolphins offense that was awesome, amazing, and now I go to this other system, and it's like, and the first year was were a lot of we had some big wins that first year, but huge wins, and we were in the thick of things to make the playoffs, and then I got injured, and so everyone was like, and part of the challenge for me was the Lions were a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. And that's what that's what everyone, so the expectation was massively high. And by the way, I felt like I was the answer. I felt like I was the guy. Kyler Murray goes, man, I want to win a Super Bowl in Phoenix. And I'm like, I get it. I was right there in the same situation. And so then the next year, record-setting years, make the playoffs. Every year I'm in Detroit and I'm healthy, we made the playoffs. And yet I think there are a lot of people through the years, which is weird. Well, he was just a bust. He was terrible. It was like, and it's like, well, I signed a second contract. So it wasn't like but I wasn't a bust. And the success I had was pretty significant, but it was certainly minimized by perception, which is another thing that I think is so weird. And there's this whole perception thing with these athletes, just like, it's like I remember when Kerry Collins came on the scene, and they're like, this guy threw for 3,200 yards and had just a phenomenal year. And I'm just thinking, and they were just really building him up. And Kerry Collins was, led the Giants to a Super Bowl eventually, and they were just all elated and excited about him. And I'm just thinking, man, I can throw for 4,000 yards in Detroit. I can throw for 3,800 yards, which I did, and 3,600 yards. And they go, you suck. You're terrible. It's just so bizarre to me. And so much of it was kind of the time. So I got into free agency when it was new. And so, today free agency is just so much a part of the NFL. And I don't even think people look at it and even go, well, it works out or it doesn't. I think they just go, yeah, free agency we think is amazing. And we're going to find good guys in free agency, and we kind of know what we're looking for. We're going to get good deals, or we have the space. You have Baltimore, who felt like they had the space to make a move on Max Crosby, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. But they felt like they actually had the ability to do that. And it clearly was in its infancy when I started. It was all new. But the feeling about free agency is basically it's kind of a 50-50 proposition. It's kind of I think out of 5 it was like 2.9 I guess was about the average score of all free agents. And so yeah, I think you're going to have good and you're going to have bad. The challenge I think you run into is, so much of it is getting the parts right, and that everyone isn't going to be a superstar on your team, and that you're going to have really, really good support players. And so, yeah, maybe they're a free agent, maybe they're this or that, or they're whatever, and they and yet that value of them, maybe they personally go, well, I didn't quite have the same success, but the team was so much better with me. And that's, and that's why late round draft choices are so valuable to teams. There's just an NFL team can be very successful, and it doesn't have to be just a superstar and a big superstar in order for it to be successful. So that's a little bit of a misnomer. And then there's another thing that goes on, and there are guys that go, man, I want to get paid. I don't care what team I go on. I don't care where I go. I don't care what kind of impact it has on the team. I want to get paid. So Kenneth Walker, maybe that's how he felt. And rightfully so in some regard, in that when you have the leverage, then you really maximize the dollar amount that happens. You really, and so you kind of have to go, okay, if you want to maximize your dollars, you're going to go to a team that's now going to have a bunch of holes. You have to ask yourself, is it really worth it to me to get every last dollar that I want in return for sacrificing the success of a team? Because that's kind of sometimes how it works out. They go, yeah, you're extremely talented. We'll bring you here. We think you can be a great player. We have you rated very high, whatever, all these reasons. And yet the team suffers. And so it's and some guys I don't think care. I think they're just like, yeah, just pay me and I'm fine, whatever. And they may not publicly come out and say, okay, I'm give me all the money, but privately, I'm sure a lot of them do just say, I want to get paid. It's like, man, that guy got paid. I got to get paid. I'm better than that guy. I got to get paid. And so you absolutely need to pay me. And that's another challenging thing. So you look at, it's a moving target, I think, to really determine if a free agent pans out. And the definition of, and it's all their definition is just the success they had. But I think so much more of it is kind of what's the impact they had on a team, and a lot of the circumstances guys get into where maybe guys around, maybe the circumstances change as soon as they get there. They have a lot of injuries. The team, isn't quite what it was, because you need the whole team. I know that's hard for people to believe, but you do. You've got to have good players around you, or you're just not going to be good. Now, there are some teams who understand what I've been describing, and so they're kind of the bargain shopping. I don't want to say basement dwelling, but they're kind of the team that goes, okay, we're going to get quality at affordable prices. And that's the way we're going to live in the world of the NFL, and namely the Patriots. And I've talked about this so many times, and it's always mind-boggling to me that more people don't follow this pattern. And maybe some of them do, but this, it certainly took them to a lot of Super Bowls to do it. Free agency, I think it's. As I'm having this conversation, this thought just pops in my head, and it's like, you have a sport, okay, and you have people that grow up playing the sport, and they're like, oh man, I love playing, I love the team, I love the camaraderie, I'm loyal, I'm all in, and then all of a sudden they just throw out all this money, and you just go, well, your head, it's like, wait a minute, what? And the money's arbitrary. It's just like, yeah, well, we're going to pay this to this guy and this to that guy. And they go, oh, we'd really like to have this guy, and we're going to have to pay him $2 million a year more to get him. And we go, yeah, it's fine. It's worth it. We like him. But at the end of the day, it's all just funny money. Like it's not, everyone's like, oh, yeah, we it's just funny money. And they make these decisions about players. And I look at it and I go, that's the dumbest thing. Like, why are you doing that? That guy's not going to work out. And then a couple of years later, the guy doesn't work out. Or, it's just, but they just pay him. And they like him, and they just whatever. And I know that there are some teams, and I don't know how bad it is now, but there are some teams that were terrible at scouting. Like, they didn't know how to scout. They didn't know what to do. Anyways, fascinating thing about free agents. And I just think it works. And I think it works because otherwise, why would they do it? I mean, part of it is you have to pay the players, just so you know. They're required by the collective bargaining agreement that they have a certain designated amount of money they have to actually pay the players. So they got to give them the money no matter what. It's just how much they get, and that's the trick. All right, we come back. I had this thought about kind of my life during my career as an athlete, and I wonder if a lot of people, are professional athletes real people too, or are they just kind of out of touch with the world? I'm going to answer that question when the Down and Dirty returns.
The Pete Souza Show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. You want to talk NFL draft? I don't know. How about we get you Todd McShay? You want to talk Big 12? We can get you the commissioner. Somebody about the Cowboys? How about we have on the owner, Stephen Jones? Pop culture? Michelle Beadle. I mean, we will bring on the people that you want to hear from. And these people don't join us because of me. They join us because of you. You got to watch this show, okay? It's got everything you need. Sports, hijinks, laughs. Did I mention hijinks? We'll see you on the Pete Souza Show. Now, we are under the 365 Sports umbrella. Check it out. I'm wearing a Tulane shirt. No idea why.
It's the Pete Souza Show. Sports.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell, so glad you could be here. So glad you're sticking around because this has been a fun show today. Fun topics to talk about, and this one is kind of a fun one. It's a fun topic, and I think the question I got a lot, like, and the reality of being a well-known person is that people recognize you. Now it's fun, to go out and people recognize who you are. It's always a weird thing, I guess, because you're just living your life. You're not really thinking a whole lot about, a lot of different things, whatever. And you're just like, yeah, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to go get gas in my car, or I'm going to go to dinner. I'm going to go to the movie or whatever. And you just do it. Right now today, with all the money that these athletes have, they probably can have people do about anything for them. Like they might have people dress them, maybe they have their own personal valet or their butler, like Downton Abbey. And, that's the kind of gilded life these athletes can live today with the amount of money that they make. But I think most of them are just normal dudes. Right. And and the more normal you can be, I think is a good thing, but it's a challenge. And it's a challenge simply because, like, there's just certain things when you're in that world you just can't do. And so you do things kind of backwards or in a private setting, or you do have people, like I love to cook. I love to go to the grocery store. I love to shop for things. My youngest daughter, one of our favorite things to do is to go to this special grocery store, and they have just some of the coolest stuff in the world. And so she likes to kind of say, here's the cool stuff, Dad. Here's what's up. Here's what's hip. Here's what's new. And so I like to do that. But when I was playing professional football, like, I wasn't going in a grocery store to save my life at normal hours. So you could go really early in the morning. You could go late at night. Sometimes there were grocery stores that were open 24/7, not necessarily all the time. Now, when I lived in Michigan, there was this little market. And I lived kind of, I don't want to say out in the country, because it's not the country anymore. Actually, Kid Rock lives where I actually lived before. He wasn't there. That Kid Rock wasn't a thing yet back then. But there was a little market, and so it's fun to go in this market. And you just, you didn't get hurt. They knew you, they knew who you were, and so they always took care of. They said, hey, are there things you need or would like to order? Because we can get you anything. And so you kind of do things differently like that if you're going to go to the grocery store. And like movies, because movies used to be a thing. It's really sad to me. Love drive-in movies, love going to the movies. And it just doesn't feel like it's a thing anymore. COVID kind of changed a lot of that. Drive-in movies, basically non-existent. There's a few places in the country that still have drive-in, but fun to go to the drive-in movie. Love going to the drive-in, but love going to the movie. But when I was a professional athlete, I never went to a drive-in as a professional athlete. But I did go to the movie, and you just go in the middle of the day. You go on your day off on a Tuesday, and that's when you went to the movie. So you just go to all the matinee movies. No, hardly anyone was at a matinee movie, except for professional athletes. And that was actually back when you did that. Dinner was a very different thing because you're in a restaurant, and you would actually have relationships with the people who owned restaurants and just say, hey, a lot of time you went through the kitchen, you went through the back door, you sat in a very quiet, secluded, private area. And I was always of the position, and still am today, of always like being around people or engaging people if I'm around them. So if they came up to me and they talked, they wanted a picture, they had to ask a question, I just always obliged. And the reason I obliged was I felt like it was, and still to this day, it's like, you can take 20 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever and make someone feel real excited and happy, or you can just be a total jerk and just go, yeah. And they're going to forever remember which one you were, and it'll have an impact on them. They'll be like, man, that guy was such a, whatever. And so it's really, that's the way I've always looked at it. And to me, this is why I do this show, is I talk about my experience, which is what people want to hear about, and they appreciate, and it's fun to talk about. So it works really well. So now I remember being out in California, and I was on a reality TV show. So I was in California about 4.5 months. So in Los Angeles, surrounding area, mostly Hollywood. And so we drove to these locations, and actually there was a good month and a half that I was driving from basically the Malibu mountains to West Hollywood. So we take these different freeways to get. So I went to a gym. So where I was staying, and then I would go to a gym. We'd work out at this gym. And so we're on the freeway, and I'd see famous people driving down the road on the freeway. And like, I remember seeing Sally Field driving in a convertible Bentley. And I was just like that. I was like, that's Sally Field. And what you don't realize is, like, yeah, I mean, you have to drive, right? And I wonder how many times, we've driven by, or we've passed someone who actually is famous. Now, I used to have fun with people too, because they go, you look just like so-and-so. And you look like that quarterback for the Lions, the Scott Mitchell guy. And I say, oh yeah, I know. I get it all the time. And they're like, no, you look just like him. And I go, I know, I get it all the time. And so it's kind of fun to mess with people a little bit and what have you. But I had this one experience, and I wanted to share it today because it cracks me up every time I think about it. Now, I was in the off season, and I got a notice for jury duty. So, normal people go do jury duty. And I figured, hey, I want to do this. I think it would be interesting. I'd like to sit in on a case. I'd like to be a juror, and I'd like to do my civic duty and do my part. So I accepted the summons and showed up at the courthouse, and there were like 415 people in this big room. Someone makes an announcement. Thank you for being here. We'll be starting soon. We'll read off a list of names up to a certain point in the day. If your name is not read off, you go home and your service is done. So I'm looking in this big room of people, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to be picked. And so I'm sitting there. They start. I was like the fifth name they read off. So I go with this group of people. I think there were probably 20 of us, and they're trying to get 12 jurors. And we're in this courtroom. They say, this trial will be a day and a half max. And this is what it's about, kind of giving people an idea. And I'm like, yeah, what's a day? What's a day and a half? Fine. This will be interesting. And then I'm like, I'm not going to be picked for this. So I was the second person picked out of the pool, and I go sit in the jury box. And we go through all these questions, and they pick the jury. So the trial starts, and I'm sitting there listening to this trial. I'm a juror, just a normal dude doing my civic duty as a professional football player for the Detroit Lions at the time. And as I'm sitting there, I kind of look around the room a little bit, and I go, okay, no one on this jury panel is recognizable, but I am. Like people recognize who I am. So I'm not just the normal citizen here. And then I started kind of panic, and I'm like, this guy's going to know who I am. And maybe this was a bad idea to do this. And part of why I started thinking that is because I started, thinking, I think this guy did it. I think he's guilty. Anyway, so we go through the trial. I have these, second thoughts, but overall, I really enjoyed the experience. Like, it was pretty cool. And it was just being a normal, average everyday citizen, and I did jury duty. So I'm in this this juror room, and the trial's over, and we convict this guy. So he's convicted, and then he's going to go home, and then he's going to come back in a couple of months, and they're going to sentence him. And we're sitting in the jury room, and the two attorneys come into the jury room, and they want to ask us questions, and it helps them, understand juries better and their thought process and things that stuck with them, whatever. And so they just kind of informally go around the room and just talk to all the jurors. And we were there for, 10, 15 minutes maybe. And both of the attorneys came up to me, and they go, we're shocked that you wanted to be on this trial, because we all know who you are. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think it was such a big deal. So now I'm like, shoot, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Anyways, fascinating experience. So that ends. And so we all file out of the jury room, and we go out this back door. We don't go through the courtroom. We go through a back hall in a hallway, and we walk down a hall, and we turn right. And there was the guy we just convicted, and he was waiting for his attorney, and he's sitting on a bench, and I'm the last juror out of the room. And as everyone walked by him, it was extremely awkward. We just convicted this guy of a crime that he's probably going to go to jail for. Not forever. It wasn't a murder trial or anything. It was a drug thing. And everyone walks by him, and no one gives him eye contact. And it's just extremely awkward. And so everyone goes by him, including myself. And I walk past him, and I go, oh, this is stupid. And I go back. And so no one gave him eye contact. It was really awkward. And I sat down on the bench with this guy, and I just said, hey, I'd like to just say something to you. And that is, no one in the room, the jury room, felt like you were a bad guy. Felt like you made a bad choice. This is your first time. So hopefully, maybe the judge will go lenient on you. And I hope you can turn this into a positive thing in your life. But I just want you to know, we don't think you're a bad person. And he goes, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. He said, do you mind signing my cast for me? I love the Lions, and I love you. And if you could just, and he had a broken arm, so he had a cast on, and he had a Sharpie. And so I just convicted this guy of a felony, sat down on a bench with him, and he wanted my autograph. So I signed his cast for him. And I just said, good luck with everything. And he says, hey man, good luck next year. I'll be pulling for you. And so I left, and I got in my car, and I'm driving down a road, and I just started laughing. And I was just thinking, like, okay, this guy goes home tonight, and he goes with his family, and they go, so how did court go today? And he's like, well, I got convicted, but I got an autograph from a Detroit Lion. So it wasn't such a bad day after all. And that whole thing just made me laugh. And it just makes me think about, professional athletes are real people too. And we think, we eat, we sleep, the whole thing, just like everyone else. So we're not all that. We're just people. All right. That's been the Down and Dirty today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Scott Mitchell. Zach's been helping me today, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. And until then, we'll see you then.